All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Burgundy Fly Guy coming at you with my game review of last night's game. Washington and the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, the Redskins take this game on the chin. Again, we lost the Cowboys last night 33-19 in a game that really was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Didn't exactly go down to the wire. This one started to break away from us about partway through the third quarter. There were some positive things that I think we could probably take away from this game, and there's definitely a whole lot of negative things that we can take away from this game. The tale of this game on Washington's side of the fence is going to be the number of injuries that we had sustained, and for those of us that knew anything about what was going on this football team prior to this football game was waving this flag from the very, very beginning. All of us knew that Washington was coming into this game severely hurt, and they had backups to their backups to their backups that were being thrown into this game. They had individuals on this offensive line who just literally pulled their car up to Redskins Park for the first time in their lives, just days prior to this game being played. Now, you cannot expect certain things to happen and take place when you are dealing with linemen who are that new. Especially that shot on the sideline during this game where you had Brandon Sheriff, you had Spencer Long, and you had Trent Williams standing right next to each other. That was the tale of the woes of our offensive line standing there watching. The people who were taking their place were nowhere near remotely even close to filling the shoes in which they were playing out on that field, and we weren't expecting anything more, to tell you the truth. Honestly, to be honest with you guys, I was shocked that we didn't receive more penalties or setbacks because of a brand new offensive front. And I'm going to call it a brand new offensive front because when you got 5 offensive linemen and 3 of those linemen are new, that's more than 50% of your line. So you're looking at a majority of your offensive line that's brand new to this whole concept of what it is that we are trying to do. And thank God it was a home field advantage. But with the issues that you could have possibly had with miscues, missed blocks. Oh, we had missed blocks. We had missed blocks all over the place. But rotational situations with you, we definitely could have had a lot more false starts. All that, especially the false starts. I would have presumed that the false starts and the delay of game penalties would have been something of a plague for us, and it didn't necessarily happen. There may have been one or two false starts in this game due to the offensive line, but frankly, we actually played a lot better in that situation. I thought that we would have. Kirk Cousins comes out of this game with 263 total yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 4 times. 4 times are really, really big, huge sacks for the Dallas Cowboys. His QBR rating goes down to about 47.4. Actually, his rating for the game was 83.6. Dak played a fairly decent game. Did not throw a single touchdown in this game. Did not have a single interception. He ended up throwing for 143 yards. I'm not going to go into the rest statistics for Dallas. I was really surprised to see that Josh Norman played. He was really, really quiet in this game. He was pretty much quiet on Island Norman. And they moved Des Bryant and Terrence Williams all over the place. So he had his opportunities to do some some good. I personally was worried about him getting involved in one-on-one matchups where tackling was going to be involved. He did get in on 2 tackles that I saw, one of them where he tried to punch a ball loose. And in those moments, I'm just cringing because I'm waiting for that rib injury to get worse. And it didn't necessarily happen, although it is Monday morning and God knows anything could happen between now and next Sunday. But he seemed to have held up fairly well, which is good to see. Moving on over the offensive side of the football, Rob Kelly had 8 carries for 19 yards. Didn't really get much on the ground, and we didn't necessarily think it was going to get much on the ground. We ended up releasing one of our running backs, and the reason why we ended up releasing our running back, Mac Brown, was because we needed the extra roster spot to fill in for the injuries. And I say that good. I say, good riddance. We don't necessarily need the help at running back as much as we need the depth at offensive line and other areas as far as this team is concerned. So going in with Samaje Perine and Rob Kelly, that's going to be our 1-2 punch along with Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson played a really, really good game. Back to Rob Kelly, not much as far as rushing as he is concerned. He had a couple decent runs in there, had some really good tries, but man, that defensive line was just all over this offensive line as far as trying to run the football, and that just didn't necessarily happen for us. Again, Chris Thompson played a great game. Obviously somebody who's going to be a major weapon for us against the Dallas Cowboys in the future. Taking a look at receiving, Jamison Crowder became the one-man receiving crew for this organization pretty much this entire game, and it's starting to look more and more like Kirk Cousins is going to be looking to Jamison Crowder, and we wanted to get more looks out of him. I had tweeted something the night before, the night of this game, where I had just basically went through my disgust for this wide receiver position that we have on this football team, especially the split end position. Anybody that's on the outside wide receiver spot is this is so sad and disgusting what this has become anymore. What's hard for me to understand is when you see a slot receiver that is trying as hard as he can to make things work and to make ends meet and to go out there and bust his ass in a Jamison Crowder. How does that not compel you? How does that not drive you to do what he's doing? To run with the amount of effort that he's running with to try to catch that football? I don't understand what it is that goes through their heads half the time when you've got a guy like him running next to you. I don't even know. In fact, there's an article out there right now that I have yet to read that is bringing up an interesting point that now might be the time to start benching Terrell Pryor. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with benching him. I don't have a problem with bringing somebody else in. Honestly, I am through, and I'm pretty sure most Redskin fans are pretty much done with the Terrell Pryor experiment. It's a good thing that we only signed him to a one-year deal. This is one of the reasons why it's not such a bad thing to sign people to a one-year deal, because we are done with him after this year, should his situation not change. And if it does change for the better, it had better change in a phenomenal fashion. I can tell you, for the most part, the way this team works, Terrell Pryor's opportunities pretty much just flew out the window. If he doesn't turn it up in the next 2 weeks, you can pretty much count him out of being a Redskin for the near future. Because once we realize that you are not going to be a viable target for us, we are eventually going to bench you. And that'll be the end of that. As far as Josh Doxson's experiments goes, he had 3 targets and only came down with 1. There was 1 huge catch that he dropped in this game, and the excuses are piling up. The last one we had a couple weeks ago, we had the touchdown that ended up getting away from him falling down. I understood that, and I made excuses for that. This one, it's wet and it's rainy. He dropped the football this time around, catching it with his forearms. I'm starting to run out of excuses for Josh Doxson. As a first-round draft selection, I'm expecting a hell of a lot more than this. You know, that play in which he got that ball, great separation. He ended up getting great separation, ended up getting himself a nice little lead. Kirk ended up throwing this ball a little bit late and a little bit shallow, but he came underneath it and had an opportunity to catch it and come down with it, but it didn't happen for him. And this has got to stop. If he wants to get himself as a viable option on this offense, he's going to have to start bringing it together. His excuses are probably going to be a little bit more profound, or at least a little bit less profound, because this is really his first year playing completely healthy, and he is a first-round draft selection coming in under pretty much a rookie contract. So you're not necessarily looking at the big money that we've been throwing in other directions as far as his position is concerned. Couple major mishaps in this football game. One of the major mishaps in this football game was the Chris Thompson fumble. He ended up getting this kick return and didn't put it away. Ended up getting knocked out of his hands, and I'll be damned if some of you that did not see the very next time that Dallas kicked off to us, he did the same thing. Ran right down the middle of the football field with only one arm around that football, and I was screaming. I had people around me, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs, telling him, trying to get him to put that ball away. And he didn't. He didn't secure it, and luckily it didn't come out again. But that one fumble that he had changed the course of this football game. Again, there were 2 major events that just made Dallas pull away with the victory in this game. That was one of them, where they ended up recovering that fumble on kickoff return. which put them in prime-time real estate for scoring another touchdown. And then the first one was the block point after the return. Now, or the block PAT, I'll tell you, the snap ended up coming in a little bit low. And those are things that, without your normal starting offensive line in there, if you've got a backup to a backup who's snapping this football, you're going to get moments like this, especially in a heavy downpour. The ball came in a little too low. The placeholder got the ball low, put it up, and it screwed up. It screwed up big time. Plus, you got this Rose kid back there who doesn't have a hell of a lot of experience. And I realize I'm pumping out the excuses here, but man, that's just the breaks. That's just the way it is. You get new guys, you get weather conditions, and this is what you're going to have. Is you're going to have miscues, you're going to have mishaps, you're going to have block point after touchdowns, and it's going to end up going for. Actually, it wasn't even a touchdown. It was just a regular 3-point field goal. Ended up getting blocked and putting Dallas into a huge return back into scoring range. And those were two events that put Dallas back on the board. One was to get them within a stretch of us that had the lead in the football game, and the second one was to pull them ahead. So it's little things like that. Then eventually we just could not hang with this team in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and they ended up pulling away to where it was unreachable. And like I said in my previous video, guys, this is a team that puts up 30 points. If this would have been a healthy Washington Redskins football team, this would have been a much, much closer game, and we'd be talking a little bit of a different story at this point. So as it stands right now, with our next 3 games coming up, we've got the Seattle Seahawks, we've got the Minnesota Vikings, and we've got the New Orleans Saints. The Seattle Seahawks right now sitting at the top of the NFC West at 5-2. They are tied right now with the Los Angeles Rams. We've got the Minnesota Vikings that are 6-2, sitting at the top of their division. We got the New Orleans Saints at 5-2, sitting at the top of their division. Before we come back full circle after that, well, the New York Giants. Right now, the New York Giants are picking up last place in the NFC East, so there's a possible victory there. Honestly, guys, how many victories do you see in the next 5 games? Not very many. I mean, this Seattle game's looking worse and worse as time goes by, because we're walking off the football field with each and every single one of these games. Since the Chiefs game, we have walked off the field with significant injuries at every single game since then, and it's not showing any signs of getting any better. We had more people that ended up walking off. We had our left guard, Sean Lovell, who's probably not going to be back. We've got, we've got other individuals too. Too many injuries. Too many injuries to go into. There's a ton of injuries right now, and Ryan Kerrigan was nursing something here towards the end. So it's not looking good. We could end up going to the Philadelphia. We could end up going into Seattle with 4 daisy fresh linemen that are backups to backups against that defense. That's going to be a lot of fun, and against that crowd, it's not looking too good. It's not looking too good. And right now, we also had just received word that there's a possibility that the Washington Redskins could be without Trent Williams for the entire season. That's how bad his injury is. Morgan Moses played a fairly decent game. He looked slow. He looked hobbled. He is hobbled. He's got both of his ankles that are killing him right now. His mobility has gone down tremendously. We ended up coming back with, who was it, Iri Kwanjo, we ended up signing over again, bringing him back. He looked fairly decent, but the rest of this line is just a hodgepodge of people, and that's going to affect the way that you run your offense. It's going to affect the way that Kirk Cousins throws this football. And the jailbreak, I don't know if you guys noticed that jailbreak defensive blitz that they sent, not enough time at all to throw that football. And then when we suspected that they were going to do it again, they didn't. Not good. I will leave with just this one last thing. As far as the Kirk Cousins situation, I saved this one for last. Kirk Cousins ended up throwing an interception late in this football game. And I said it on Twitter that this whole contract negotiation thing could very well hinge on just that one play. Despite all the good that he has done, despite everything that he represents, it does not matter what us fans think. It does not matter at all what Kirk Cousins nor his agent thinks. This comes down to the top 2 people of this organization. This comes down to Bruce Allen, and this comes down to Daniel Snyder. And Daniel Snyder has not forgiven Kirk Cousins for the interception that he threw at the last week last year against the New York Giants. That interception, in my opinion, pales in comparison to the interception that he threw yesterday, because it's the Dallas Cowboys, and we stood a really good chance of coming off probably what a lot of people saw was a fairly decent chance of getting a victory coming out at a 4-3 record and pretty much chasing that #1 team in Philadelphia. As unrealistic as that might be, I know for a fact that interceptions against division rivals, given past experience, this organization and the people that are at the head of the organization do not like at all. And after I saw that, I shook my head and I'm thinking, that could very well be the coffin, that could very well be the nail that seals Kirk Cousins' fate as far as him being a quarterback. And it's petty like that. It's little stupid petty things like that that got us to this point to begin with. So, without further ado, this one is a loss, 33-19. We are sitting right now at 3rd place behind the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East. And this could very well be a spot that we maintain, unless the New York Giants go on a streak. This could very well be the spot that we maintain throughout the rest of the season, because it's not looking like it's getting any better. Unless if these injuries start taking a turnaround and getting us back onto track, and we start getting some of these players back, then this situation is not going to change. It's not going to get any better. We're just not going to have the personnel to eke out victories. And if you think that all it takes is for us to just dig down deep and to pull up, what's down there is left is our spirit and our guts to come out and pull out a victory, you guys are crazy. That's just not going to happen. You don't have backups to backups coming in and playing these games and winning in playoff football games. That's not how it works. Not with this many injuries. There's too many injuries on this football team. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Look forward to, I'm thinking about doing a Seattle Seahawk video. I'm not necessarily sure if I will do a preview video. Again, it's really hard to do preview videos when your team is so banged up. It'll be tough. It'll be tough to see exactly what it is I do. Maybe this will be just a video that I did like I did last week with the Hate Week video for Dallas. Just putting out some thoughts and some ideas. I'll let you guys know. Anyways, we'll catch you all next time. Remember, our fans of the Twin Feather, we ride together. Redskins for life. Peace out. We'll catch you next time.